Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you've been following the tech world over the last couple of years, you've absolutely seen these two terms popping up everywhere: AI agents and agentic AI. They kind of exploded in popularity, right? But honestly, it's shockingly hard to find a clear, simple definition of how they actually differ. And that brings us to this quote. Everyone's talking about AI agents and agentic AI, but nobody's explaining the difference clearly. It is so true. You've got software vendors and the media constantly using these words interchangeably, and it's created a really chaotic environment. So let's cut through that noise today. By the end of this, I promise, you are never going to confuse these two concepts again. Here is the core thesis, the big takeaway. They are related, but they are absolutely not the same thing. Yes, they share the same technological DNA, but they operate on entirely different levels of scale and complexity. What is an AI agent? The task-scoped specialist. Let's start at the micro level. An AI agent is a task-scoped entity. Simply put, it's built specifically to execute one single job. That's the crucial point here. It doesn't get distracted, and it doesn't try to run a whole business. It's perfectly engineered to handle its one specific task. Now, looking at the system architecture, every agent essentially relies on a very specific data flow pattern. It's a simple three-step loop. First, it perceives an input, like taking in a piece of data. Second, it decides on an action based on its internal logic. And third, it acts. Perceive, decide, act. That continuous flow is the foundational architecture of a single AI agent. To ground this in reality, let's look at some industry-specific tools. In healthcare, think of a triage bot that purely schedules appointments based on symptom keywords. Or in software development, a code review agent scanning strictly for syntax errors. Or maybe a finance agent that just flags transactions over a certain dollar amount. It's always one data input, one narrow decision, one output. Understanding agentic AI, expanding the horizon. Right here is where the biggest misconception usually happens. Agentic AI is not just a bigger, smarter bot. Actually, scratch that. It's not a bot at all. It's a system behavior. It's an entire paradigm where multiple different components and agents are orchestrated to work autonomously together. This behavior is really defined by four key traits. First, long horizon planning. It's plotting a course 10 steps ahead, not just reacting. Second, multi-agent collaboration. Third, self-correction, meaning if the system hits a wall, it actually adjusts its strategy on the fly. And finally, minimal human intervention. You just set the destination and the system literally drives the car. Let's imagine an autonomous research workflow. To picture this data flow pattern, the architecture looks like a pipeline. Agent A gathers raw data, then hands that data flow off to Agent B for synthesis. Agent C fact-checks that specific synthesis, correcting errors before Agent D formats the final report. The data flows dynamically through this whole architecture without a human ever prompting the individual steps. The core difference is comparing the scales. So if we put them side by side to compare the scales, they differ across four main dimensions. In scope, the agent is incredibly narrow, while agentic AI is broad. For autonomy, the single agent has moderate independence, but the agentic system, highly independent. Planning shifts from short-step reactions to complex, long-horizon goals, and structurally, we move from single to multi-agent architectures. Think of it like a corporate team structure. An AI agent is a specialist employee. Agentic AI is an autonomous company of specialists. An AI agent is that meticulous accountant or that hyper-focused copywriter. Agentic AI is the entire company. It represents the management layer, the communication channels, and the complex departmental structures that allow all those specialists to deliver a final product together. How they work together. The building blocks of behavior. Now that we've separated them, how do they actually interact? Well, you really cannot have agentic AI without AI agents. The individual agents are the foundational bricks, the building blocks. Agentic AI is the magnificent, complex building that emerges when you stack those bricks together in an intelligent way. It's emergent system behavior. Let's consider the world of physical logistics for a second. An AI agent is kind of like a single robotic arm on an assembly line, perfectly welding one car door over and over again. Agentic AI, however, is the fully automated global supply chain. It's tracking raw materials via satellite, adjusting shipping routes for bad weather, and automatically communicating with that robotic arm to slow down production if inventory gets too high. Or on a more personal level, imagine planning a vacation. The AI agent is the tool that successfully books one flight ticket based on the dates you give it. Agentic AI is the system that plans the whole trip end to end. It books the flights, coordinates the hotel, and crucially, if your flight is suddenly canceled, it autonomously self-corrects. It rebooks the flight and notifies the hotel of your late arrival completely without you lifting a finger. It's a total game changer.
Recap and takeaway. Why this matters.
Okay, let's wrap this up with a quick mental snapshot. An AI agent, a singular task-scoped tool. Agentic AI, a complex, multi-agent behavioral system. Why does this matter to us? Because as AI evolves, knowing this precise difference gives you a massive strategic advantage. It allows you to use software more effectively by understanding its actual limits. More importantly, it directly impacts overall corporate strategy. Executives have to decide, do we just need to automate a few narrow tasks to save some time, or do we need to invest in a fully autonomous system to entirely reinvent our business model? We are moving rapidly, literally lightning speed, toward a world powered by these agentic AI systems. So I'll leave you with this. As these autonomous companies of specialists take over long horizon planning and complex problem solving, how will you adapt your own role in this new ecosystem? It's a pretty fascinating question, and definitely one to keep exploring. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.